All right, Solomon in general. What were you going to say? Okay, all right. So that is actually a tricky question. Did Solomon write all of the Proverbs? He did not. Yeah, when you go through the book, Solomon collection of Proverbs. And most of them were Solomon's Proverbs. They're Proverbs that he spoke and were collected or written down. And so it is a collection of sayings that are basically really important sayings. They're important sayings, and they're sayings to help people in life. So somebody give me a quick synopsis of how Solomon got his wisdom. So who can give me the synopsis of that? Can you do it? Synopsis of that. Can you do it? He got it from God. Okay, you are correct. All right, Greg?
Didn't he get offered like riches and stuff like that for softness of wisdom?
He did, yeah. So you have it recorded where he was made king by God, and he has a dream, and the dream is different than the dreams you and I have. It was a dream that was an interaction with God, and God offered him the ability to choose three things, and he chose wisdom. And so God granted him wisdom, and it said that he wanted to be able to discern between good and bad, to be able to figure out what's right and what's wrong. And it was it demonstrated his heart, although we know that he failed later in life. He was a man who said, I know that to do the job that God has given me, the job of wisdom, I'm going to need help in order to figure out people. And I think his background had helped a little bit, because he knew that his dad, David, had struggled with Saul, and there was a lot of deception that went place. With his own father, David, of course, sinned, and there was the sword never left his house. And so he had his brothers that he had to deal with. And then even at the very end, one of his brothers tried to take the throne, and he had to have him killed, and had to have several of the other leaders in David's kingdom killed. And so he's thinking, I just need to figure out people. And if you work with people, you understand that sometimes trying to figure out what are people thinking, who's on your side, who's not on your side, who's waiting to stab you in the back, that's a big question. And so I think when Solomon came to that, God had prepared him for it, and he said, I just really want wisdom. Lord, I want to accomplish what you want me to accomplish, and so I'm asking you to give me wisdom. And God said, well, you have asked for this. I'm going to give you the riches, and I'm going to give you the long life as well. Now, studying Solomon, we know that later in his life he made some bad choices. Multiple wives that turned his heart away from God. But in all of that, God gave him wisdom. And this is another rabbit trail you could take, that even people that have made poor choices know truth and can communicate truth. But the vessel that communicates that truth does affect how people accept it. So when you come to Proverbs, it begins by saying, here are the Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. And so these Proverbs are sayings. I use a definition here. Wisdom is practical living directed by the Word of God. And so when you're looking for wisdom, verse 2 says to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive instruction of wisdom, justice and judgment and equity. Wisdom is practical living directed by the Word of God. So this is the idea that I'm going to take God's Word and I'm going to make it practical. How does it help me make decisions on a daily basis? How do I apply truth so that I in my job, whether I'm in college or high school, how do I make good practical decisions that reflect my relationship with Christ? And so that's what wisdom is. It's practical living directed by the Word of God. It's how do I take this and make it usable on a daily basis. Then on the opposite side of wisdom would be what? If you're not wise, you're what? You're a fool, yeah. So do you have a definition of a fool? What is a fool? It's not on my list of definitions. What were you saying?
I was going to say Bible, but
All right, Joe?
Someone who builds his life on the sand.
All right, somebody who builds his life on the sand. Okay, that's good. Yeah, he builds his life on the sand. Ron?
somebody who denies God.
Okay, somebody who denies God. That's good. Both of those are very good. All right, anybody else? Your definition of a fool. Pastor Moore.
Someone who will despise, or not despise, but who does not listen to what the word says, or if they do, they say, I will take my own way anyway.
Okay, yeah. They listen to the word, say, I'm going to do my own thing my own way. John?
Well, I mean, since we're looking at them in opposites, you could probably easily say a fool is someone who rejects wisdom.
Okay, he rejects wisdom. My definition of fool is someone who lives their life as if there is no God. Now, he may know the truth of Scripture, he may have been in church, he may have heard things, but he lives his life as if there is no God, as if God isn't watching him, as if he doesn't give an account to God, as if God doesn't have the authority to direct his life. And so foolish decisions mean that I lean on myself and my own mind, my own thinking. So you take all of these definitions that have been put together, that's a good definition of a fool. You're somebody who lives their life as if there is no God. And so Proverbs is trying to give us wisdom. And he uses other words there, justice, judgment, equity. And the idea of equity is that it is an impartiality, a balance to things so that you understand what to do. Now, in looking at Proverbs, what is a proverb? All right, Christy said what? All right, a saying. Okay. All right. Greg?
According to the intro here, it says it's comparison.
A what?
Comparison.
A comparison. Okay. All right, you're going to have a comparison. Proverbs is going to rely on parallelism throughout most of the book. And I'll give you a little bit of that in just a second. All right, Pastor Moore?
A short saying that gives a general truth, but not necessarily a promise.
Okay, all right. Lot in what he just said. A short saying that gives a general truth, but not necessarily a promise. Okay, there's actually a lot of meat in that, and a lot of things that you need to remember with that. Yeah, it is a saying in its simplest form. What are some sayings that we have that wouldn't be Proverbs, the book of Proverbs? Can you think of any Proverbs?
Cleanliness is next to godliness.
All right, cleanliness. Yeah, you don't have to justify it, but you're right. It's a proverb. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Okay, all right. What else? Don't what? Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Probably that would be a proverb, I would think. Okay. Wait, who's talking? What? All right, don't put the cart before the horse. All right. Better late than never. I don't agree, but yeah.
One of our family sayings, stupid hurts.
Stupid hurts. Yes. You make your bed, you lie in it. Right, okay. A bird in hand is worth two in the bush. All right. We actually have in our culture a lot of sayings that would be similar to Proverbs. And a proverb is a statement that is a guide for life. But Pastor Moore pointed out, what we have to be careful with a proverb is it is not a promise. They're very different things. You might say that they're observations about life. But everybody knows that sometimes when you do observations about life, there are variations that will change things. Somebody said that they're short sentences drawn from long experience. So, I've got a lot of experience. I look at you and say, here's what you need to watch for in this. The thing is, there will be exceptions and there will be things that will change a little bit. Let me give you an example of this. Turn to Proverbs 26. And I've shown you this before, so some of you may remember this, so don't spoil it, all right? Proverbs 26, verse 4. Proverbs 26, verse 4. Somebody want to read that proverb for us, just verse 4. Who wants to be our reader? All right.
Answer a fool according to his folly, or you will also be like him.
Okay. All right, read it one more time.
Do not answer a fool according to his folly, or you will also be like him.
All right. New American Standard, is that what that is?
Yes.
Do not answer a fool according to his folly, or you'll be like him. All right? King James Version, it says, answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou also be like unto him. So don't answer a fool according to his folly, his foolishness, or you'll be just like him. You'll get drawn into his foolishness. And you end up in this discussion that's just endless, a cycle of words that just are worthless. And so you'll get drawn into his folly and you become just like him. So don't answer a fool according to his folly. Now, what do we need to look at? What's the next verse? John?
Answer a fool as his folly deserves, that he not be wise in his own eyes.
All right, hold on. We've got one proverb that says, don't answer a fool according to his folly. And the very next proverb says, answer a fool according to his folly.
Well, make sure you have the right answer.
All right, make sure you have the right answer. Okay. All right. What else can you tell me about that? Christy?
Well, there are different types of fools,
Okay.
and so you would discern what person you're dealing with.
Yeah. Yeah, different types of fools, so you discern what type of person you're dealing with. John?
I think it's also talking about different kinds of answers.
Okay.
You have to discern that the person is a fool before you answer them. You don't answer a foolish question in like time. You sort of answer it at a different level.
Okay, answer on
Like
a...
some of the answers
Yeah.
that Jesus gave to the religious leaders that were coming to
Mhm.
to trick him, and you can sort of get an idea where he applied this.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, Jesus' answers would be a good illustration of this because they'll ask him a question and he's really, I mean, of course, it's God in human flesh, so he answers, do we pay tax or not? And so he takes the coin and says, well, whose inscription is on it? We'll give to God what is God's and to Caesar what is Caesar's. But, there's the answer. But what you learn in this verse is that there is a discernment that you make sometimes. Should I even answer this person? Answer not a fool according to his folly, or you'll be like him. Is answering him going to make you like him? Are you just going to enter into his foolishness? I think maybe the best illustration of that is Facebook. How many times have you looked at something and thought, I'd really like to answer him? And then you think, that's just going to create an endless cycle of words and nobody's really going to profit. I saw one this morning actually and I thought, I'm not going to answer that. And I don't answer very often anyway. Pastor Moore?
My study Bible says about these two verses, a person should never answer a fool by resorting to foolish methods. Yet someone needs to expose his folly even if he won't listen.
Yeah. All right. So you may have the opportunity to expose his folly. So under the right circumstances, then I think that's what verse 5 is saying. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceit. And I've always thought he needs to know that you don't agree. He needs to know that you don't blindly accept what he's saying. And so it isn't even that you have to convince him. It is that you have to let him know, no, that's not right. And of course, a lot of us have talked about Charlie Kirk, who was murdered this week. What he was masterful at was exposing in a very kind and gentle way the folly of somebody's argument. And the one I think of most often is somebody would want to argue with him about abortion, and he'd say, okay, well, all right, could we kill Steele? You know, if his mom says, I'm just tired of him, I can't take care of him, so we're just going to kill him. Well, no, you can't do that. All right, well, what about when he was 2? Well, no. And then he keeps going back until Steele is in the womb. Well, is he not a person then? And of course, they'd come up with other arguments, and he would just clearly, kindly say, you know, it's a person. He's a person. When do you have the right to kill him? And so that's answering somebody according to their folly, but it's answering well and not entering into their foolishness. And that person knows that you disagree with them. So here's an example in a proverb where he's saying you have to discern the situation and make application to that situation. You will be in this regularly in your life where you have to decide, should I even answer this person? Should I even respond to what they have said? And Proverbs gives us this kind of guide so that we can try to figure out, should I say anything? Should I not say anything? How should I respond? So when you come to Proverbs, Proverbs is just a list of sayings to help you decide how to live your life, how to make decisions, what you should and shouldn't do. And in the first part of it, he's going to personify wisdom, and then he's going to go just to sayings. And if you've read Proverbs, you know that it is somewhat of a difficult book to just read through, because it's not topical, it's not a dialogue, it's not a narrative, it's just sayings. And so, how do you benefit from Proverbs when you read it? Let me say that differently. What is a way? There are different ways that you could, as you read Proverbs, really come away with something that you could use. What would you think? Maybe some of you have done this before. How do you benefit from Proverbs?
Sometimes a verse at a time.
All right, a verse at a time. And it's actually, you could take one verse at a time. And if you go to, today's the 14th, so if I go to the 14th, every wise woman builds her house, but the foolish plucks it down with her hands. And then the next verse, he that walketh with uprightness feareth the Lord, but he that is perverse in his ways despiseth him. Those two don't really, it's not a continual thought. They're kind of separate things. You could connect them. But you could take the first one and you could think, every wise woman builds her house, but the foolish plucks it down with her hands. And really mull that over, one verse at a time. Okay? How else might you benefit from Proverbs? Chipper?
I think Proverbs teaches you to put what you know and acting on what you know to be right from God over what you feel.
Okay.
I think that's a contrast you see a lot.
Yeah. What I know to do versus what I feel like doing. We don't struggle with that at all, do we? All right. I think really Joe's hit on the one of the things that I want you to know about Proverbs. You can't see it, but I've spent a lot of time in Proverbs, and like each chapter, I have tried to pick out one proverb in each chapter, and it's underlined in red. And like chapter 14, I don't have one. I still haven't underlined one verse. Not that I can't find one. I'm trying to find the one, and my goal was to memorize the verse out of each chapter. But like chapter 15, if you look over there, very well-known verse in chapter 15, verse 1, it says, a soft answer turns away wrath, but grievous or harsh words stir up anger. But then if you go to verse 3, I've underlined it in red. The eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. And there's something I particularly like about that verse. Does anything stick out to you about it? The eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. What is it?
He sees the good too.
He sees the good too. Yeah, I always think about that. You know, we think the Lord's just watching me to see the bad things I do. But it says, the eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. He sees everything you do. And so that's one of the verses that I've memorized. And then I also underlined verse 23 in chapter 15. It says, "A man hath joy by the answer of his mouth, and a word spoken in due season, how good it is." Speaking the right word at the right season, how good that is. You have joy by the answer of your mouth. And of course, Proverbs deals a lot with the tongue, with the mouth of what you're going to say. So I want to challenge you to read Proverbs, but read it not just to finish a chapter, but read it and look for a verse that would apply to you, that really stands out to you for that day. And try to memorize it, put it on a card or a piece of paper, and think through what that verse says. And so tomorrow you may read Proverbs 15, and the very first verse, "A soft answer turns away wrath," might be what you need for the day. Because somebody's going to be mad at you, and you're going to need to turn that wrath away. But harsh words are going to stir up anger. So you can either be soft or you can be harsh. And you have to decide what you're going to be. But Proverbs are individual. And so trying to look at it like we read a lot of the rest of Scripture, or we read a whole chapter or a narrative, that's going to be a little more difficult because a lot of them are individual. Now, not all of them, but a lot of them you'll find are individual. We had kind of decided that we're going to study Proverbs in our growth class. It is one of the hardest books to teach because of this, because you don't have a continual theme. We have a continual theme, but you can't just do an expository study. It's more difficult to do that. And so Proverbs is a hard book to teach, although I think it is one of the best books to learn. And so that's one of the struggles that we have with that. All right, so I'm going to stop there. I wanted to just give you a little bit of an introduction to Proverbs. And then what we're doing today is I want you to give me a little bit of input on some things. When we do our growth class, we had last year done the book studies and had people sign up, and that went really well. And then we've shrunk a little bit since then. And so what we're trying to figure out is what classes should we have, and how are we going to make that work? And let me give you a little bit of an idea of what my goal is with it. I'm wanting to set it up, and I showed you on the PowerPoint where for this section, whether it goes through January or a little further, I don't know, we'll have a choir class, and then we'll also have a class that is age graded. So if you're not in choir, then you would be in a class with an age group like yours. And so college age, we would have a college age class. I don't know if we'll need a teen class or not, because we'd like for them to be in choir. Then we would like to have an empty nesters class, and we'll come up with a better name, but a nesters class with children, and have those two. But we need to have an idea of how many are going to be in each of those classes. And then Todd is teaching the empty nesters class, Todd Lewis, and I have not actually finalized who's teaching the other class. I need to know who's in it. But let me give you a little bit of information about what I'm trying to do with that. I really, I'm going back to, I think nearly everybody in here, except maybe Greg and Kelly, would have been in the discussion groups. Were you in the discussion groups when we had them? I don't think you were. Okay. All right. So the discussion groups we had after the Sunday morning service. Yeah, the Moores actually weren't either, were you? Yeah, so they're more than I was thinking. But the discussion groups, when we were meeting in the activity building, everybody was just assigned after the service to a discussion group. We would go to our discussion group. And one of the real benefits of that was that you got to know people because you were in a small group. And we rotated them every 8 weeks or so, and so it was a new group that was meeting together regularly. Well, one of the things that you need to do in a church is have smaller groups so people get to know each other. And so the growth classes, I'd like for it to be a smaller group, but a group that is inviting everybody to come. So, what we have here today is the foundation. So you guys are the foundation that we're building on. And then the objective would be to invite everybody that's in our church to come to the growth class, just to be here for the growth class, and encourage them to do that. And then we'd actually like to go a little bit further and have some activities with each growth class. And so this year, we have an all-church Christmas party scheduled, but we're looking at that saying, all right, we'd like to have a Christmas party for the empty nesters. And that would maybe be the senior saints party. We do one anyway. Then another party for those that have families, another party for those who are in college age, and even another one, the teenagers have their own party on a Royalty Club night. But do some activities for those. And what I would love to do is have those classes and where they begin to grow a little bit. And then we have to divide them. What's the ideal size for a growth class? What would you think? 12? All right. Buddy? 5? 5 or 6? Okay. All right. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure what the answer to that is. I think I was thinking more like 20 if you're going to do activities, but I'm not sure. I think we'd have to figure it out.
It also depends on like how many people actually, if they come and engage, then probably a smaller one's better, but if you not like get comfortable, a larger one is better.
Wait, now say that one more time.
If people aren't comfortable yet with each other, a larger group's easier to get more engagement. But then as they get more comfortable, smaller, if they get comfortable.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know if I can do all the hand gestures, but what she said was, you do a larger group and it allows people to get like, comfortable. How am I doing? Yeah, and then you split them. I was okay. All right. Yeah, John.
I think with the size groups we had, the discussion groups, it seemed pretty optimal, although you have times when, during the summer when people are on vacation, the group essentially disintegrates.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, you have the danger if you get the group too small, if you've got 2 families that are gone, and if you have families with kids, you're going to have sickness, then you don't necessarily have enough there to do things. So, if it's a little bit larger, then you might be better off if there is a reason people are gone in the summer, vacation, or kids are sick or something like that. But what I would like is to do the discussion, to do the growth classes, and then I want your growth class to reach out to everybody in our church. I mean, I literally mean, send them an invitation. If they're not here, invite them to come. And then follow up with that. But that's going to require a little bit of effort on our part for the people who are here to actually do that, to get to know the people, to invite them, to say, would you come to our growth class this week? And I think there are a lot of options for that. So we want to invite everybody to the growth classes and see if we can grow those a little bit. And then, Lord willing, you get a class. Let's say we get to 15 or 20. Then if you got to 20, you could divide into 10 and maybe grow that class again. And you'd have to decide, or we have to decide how big do we want the class to get before it would divide again. That's easy on paper. It hasn't been extremely successful, in practicality. But I think it is something that's doable if we could do it. And then the class actually have some things that would fit their group that they could do together, whether it's a Christmas party or if they want to do some kind of an activity, that they would do that. And so, my challenge is I would like for us to try that and maybe try to double the class by January. And I think we could, do that if we put an effort into that. All right, any comments or thoughts on that? What do you think?
So when we were doing the last set of Sunday school
Mhm.
class, I think you said no more than 12 in each class.
Yes, we did.
And then I had guys on the clip, so I don't care, I'm coming anyway. So we were like up to 15.
Okay.
Which was actually a good number because we did have a gathering at my house, and it was all men.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of food, we shot a lot of bullets, we had a lot of fun. It was good fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
So that number there seems to be good because if somebody can't make it, there's still enough people
Yeah.
to have a good fellowship with.
Okay, all right. 15, that's good. From experience, we know that 15 is a good number to shoot for then. And then if we get into the 20 range, then at that point we might look at saying we need to divide that class. Mary?
What happens if, like, you're a couple and you separate for classes? Do you get to go to all the parties?
Go to all the parties. Yeah. It's a good question. Yeah.
Because I don't sit.
Well, it is one of those things where, we want the choir, but choir kind of messes up that aspect of it, but we want the choir. So yeah, you can bring Jeff. All right. Any other? Jeff?
You were thinking about a West Virginia class?
We did that with discussion groups, do you remember? We actually did. Yeah, we did geographic locations for the discussion groups once in a while. We had the West Virginia, of course we have to have the West Virginia people Charlestown and the West Virginia people Martinsburg direction, but yes. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to do, just so that you understand. My goal is that we start the class and the class grows. And this has been the struggle that we've had with after COVID especially. And by the way, we're not at all alone in that. That's been something that churches have struggled with after COVID because the mindset changed, and it just we need to make sure that we're meeting needs for people. And so that's what we're trying to do, is just get people involved in that and keep them coming. All right, any other comments on that? Okay, so Ron.
The choir group obviously have a theme. Will be putting themes with this group? Help that help?
You mean themes as far as the lesson?
Themes as far as the lessons themselves, or just common interest in concept?
Well, hopefully the common interest will be kids or no kids. Yeah. And then we have the college group, but I don't know. I'm open to any of that. We have done as a topic before, which we probably will do in the future. Like Joe was mentioning, we did the book studies, and those went well. So there were those themes. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. So I'm wanting to do a class on Proverbs. I am having a really hard time finding a good curriculum for Sunday school on Proverbs. I've looked at several and haven't loved them so far. I have one in my office, but it may be too in-depth. And so we're going to plan on Proverbs, and then we'll see. Mary?
You should write it.
Yes, I should write it. I would enjoy that, but I don't know that.
You didn't get your doctorate for nothing.
I know. Yeah, I would enjoy writing it. I'd love to write something on Proverbs. Okay, so that's where we are. So let's do this. We have about just under 10 minutes left. So let's do this because I need to figure out how we're going to do it. I have encouraged people to be in choir. If you're able to sing, if you think you can sing, if you should be singing, I want you to do choir, because that's a ministry group. Sam will go through that, and you'll learn a little bit about music. You'll sing. That one will be right up here in the choir loft. Starts at 9:30, so we need you to be here when it starts so that you can practice. So why don't we do this? Sam, I don't know that we're going to have a lot of time for you to do anything this morning. So can you live with that? Okay. If you're going to be in choir, would you just raise your hand real high so Sam can get a count? He can see who's going to be in choir. All right? And again, if you can or should sing, we want you to be in choir. All right? 1, 2.
Is there an age that they would be?
That's a good question. Keep your hand up and let me count, and then I'll answer that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Caleb, you going to do choir? Good. All right.